Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Apologies for my voice, I've got a bit of a sore throat, but what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour around all my trees, because it hadn't occurred to me. Apparently I haven't done that yet. I thought I had, but yeah, I was sort of nudged saying that I should do one, so that's what we're going to do today. Have a little look around some of the trees and maybe a little bit of an explanation of, you know, maybe where they came from or whatever. So yeah, let's go. Okay, so for those of you who are juniper fans, like myself, this tree here was gifted to me by a good friend, and what had happened is that the tree had fallen out of its pot. She then just put it back in the pot loosely and leant it up against the bush, and half the tree had died back. So yeah, when I saw the tree, it was just leant up against the bush. She then said, yeah, please take it, and I thought I'll see what I can do with it. I didn't know if it was going to survive, to be honest with you. It's got quite a bit of juvenile foliage at the minute, because what I did was, I don't know if you can see the back. Let's turn it round. So here, what it was a metre tall, and I chopped it right the way back, and I used the first branch to basically build the start of the tree. And then what I've been doing is just fertilising heavy through the growing season, and I'm now just going to let it be at the minute. Like I say, we've got some nice runs on it, but we've also got some juvenile foliage popping out, but I was expecting that anyway. But it's one of those trees that something needed to happen. You know, there's no point waiting all the time. If I carried on waiting, it would have just got worse. The foliage was, you know, it was all at the ends. It didn't quite look like a bonsai, shall we say. It was more like a garden shrub had been put in a pot. And obviously that's not what we go for in bonsai. There's certain things that we try and do and stick to so that it actually looks like a bonsai tree. So that's my plan at the minute. Is I'm just going to let it grow in this pot, which I know is very, very big at the minute, but I'm just giving it room to spread its feet out if it wants to. But I think the variety of it is a Blaw's juniper. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, it looks very Blawsy. So if anyone else thinks it's anything different, then please let me know. But as far as I'm aware, as far as I can work out, it's a Blaw's juniper. For those of you that follow me regularly, you'll know this is my root over rock Kishu juniper that was gifted to me by a friend of mine, Terry. And what happened is the top unfortunately died back. The tree looked very, very sickly when I first saw it. He wanted to just throw it away in the bin, and I just said to him, do you mind if I take it on and see what I can do with it? And I've managed to get it to push growth out. There's still bits that are a bit ropey, but it's definitely a step in the right direction, shall we say. It's got a bit of a 5-year plan that Peter and myself have come up with, and I think within the next sort of year or two it might start to look a little bit more close to where I see it in the future. And the plan, the end result, is to show it. So keep your eyes peeled for videos on this one. It's going to be an exciting project. So I've got another little Kishu juniper here. Purchased this from Herons as material for £95, I think it was. And I bought the pot from Herons also. I think that was a lot more though. But this is a Tokoname drum pot, and they don't use this type of clay anymore, so they're very hard to get hold of. If you know your pots, then you'll know what you're looking at. And that type of pot, the exact type of pot, is what I purchased my hawthorn with. But yeah, so this has been styled by Nacho, fully wired by myself, and now I'm just feeding it up, and we'll just see how the tree responds really. Lost a few little bits of it through the styling, but I think that's to be expected, to be honest with you. You know, we're doing some brutal procedures, and we can't expect that the tree's going to love every bit of it. You know, they'd much rather you just leave them alone really, but we don't do that, do we? So yeah, let's see how this does over the next coming, say, year or two. Hopefully it will fill out a little bit more. We'll get a little bit of a shari going through just to complement the deadwood there, the gin. And yeah, so this is my English hawthorn. Needs quite a bit of work doing to it. I swapped this with my friend for a Tokonami pot that I had sitting in the garage. A lovely pot, but I've always wanted a chunky hawthorn, and yeah, we kind of came up with a little deal. So I need to think about a pot for it, but I think over the winter I'm probably going to wire a few little bits down and just try and compress that a little bit more. But this here, I'm just going to grow out. I really want this branch here to be a lot thicker than it is. Don't know if you can really tell, but they're all very similar size, and it shouldn't really be like that. This should be a lot thicker than the rest, seeing as it's the first branch. But I think again, over time, it's going to be a lovely tree. And yeah, get that pot and it'll be really nice. Okay, Zav, Alex, this is a maple for you. It's a Shishigashira. I was gifted this tree sort of mid-February this year. It had been sat in the garden for, well, I don't know how long, to be honest with you, and hadn't been repotted at all. I think the only type of fertiliser it ever had was, I would occasionally give her some Naruko. I think I went and styled them all once from my memory. She got rid of all the trees, and because she knew how much I loved this tree, she kindly gifted it to me. So I went to Heron's and I purchased this lovely Victor Harris pot by Erin, and yeah, repotted it, but I didn't go too mad on it because where it had been sat in the garden for so long, there was a massive root coming out the bottom, and obviously that was what was feeding the tree because it was into the ground. So my plan is in spring, I'm going to go in, completely bare root it because it needs it, because I'm not sure if this is because of sunburn or it's down to the fact that it's staying so damp around this part of the root ball. It's drying out lovely where I've repotted it, but I think there's a lot going on in this bit here that needs to be taken out, get some fresh soil in, bit of oxygen, and I think it'll be really thankful for it, to be honest with you. I'm just waiting for that lovely autumn colour, because Jen said to me this is one of the trees that she used to love when it turned the autumn colour that it did. Actually, the tree had a branch that came out here, and I decided to remove that, and I took quite a few of the leaders out as well, because the silhouette was well out of where it should be. It's pushed out some lovely new growth for me to play with, which I was hoping it would do, which shows me that the tree's not so unhealthy really. If it's going to give me that, at least it's got a bit of energy somewhere. But I think over the next couple of years it's going to get better and better, to be honest with you. And it's a tree that I've always wanted, and I'm very grateful that Jen gifted it to me. This here is an Acer palmatum variety, and I bought these as hedging plants. Unfortunately, the way that it all landed, so when they turned up, they were bare root, and because I was so busy that day, I had to kind of just get them into a pot. And my thought process was, at least, you know, they can just grow a little bit and do what they're going to do, just get them nice and healthy, and I can play around with them anytime, you know, once I repot them. So yeah, there's big plans. Obviously I want them a lot thicker than this. So, I mean, I had a couple of friends laugh and joke and say, well, what's that? And I said to him, you know, bonsai's got to start somewhere. So yeah, the plan will be, I've got a training pot that's a little bit deeper than this now, which I was gifted. So I will get them into that probably in spring, and maybe split the group up a little bit as well and leave a little path through the middle or something. But yeah, I'm quite impressed with, to be honest with you, it's put out a lot of growth this year. Had some nice long extensions on it. I've been and cut it back a few times. So yeah, I think over time it will become something nice. Just a little bit of an ongoing project really. So you're probably all aware of what this is. This is an English field maple. And I bought this again as a hedging plant. And I think from memory, it was no bigger than like this leader here, say. And it was about £4.50 it cost me. And I put that in the ground at my granddad's, and I just kind of kept it fertilised, kept it watered, and it got to about, I don't know, 5-6 foot, and I chopped it back. So this came out of the ground, and it was probably a little bit taller than it is now. There wasn't a lot to it. So yeah, and again, this is another long-term project if I keep hold of it. I've ummed and ahed about getting rid of this one. I've really got to make some space somewhere. I can't keep them all as much as I want to. If I want to continue with the plan that I've got, then there will need to be some trees go. So this possibly could be one of those trees. But I think, to be honest with you, at the minute, I've given it some good bones. A lot of people I've spoken to can't really see what I've done as being a thing, but you need to look at the structure overall. Yeah, I know it doesn't look a lot at the minute, but if you let bits go and let bits thicken up, there's the basis of a really nice little show here. I purchased this trident from Herons as a little starter tree, and for years I didn't know what to do with it, to be honest with you, because when I initially bought it I didn't really know what I was doing. So I managed to purchase a piece of Ibigawa rock from Kaizen for quite cheap. So what I've done is I've strapped this to the Ibigawa using shrink wrap. Okay, not just wrap like that, I mean like I've made ties to tie the roots to it, and I've not really done much with it, and it's puzzled me because it's so straight. It doesn't quite look right, but the plan I've got now, I don't know if you can tell, but see this branch here, I pinned back this way a few months back, and I tried a thread graft, and unfortunately it failed. I mean, it was the wrong time of year really. I knew you could do it at that time of year, but it's not as successful if you do it at, you know, springtime is probably prime time to do it. So what I'm going to do is, we're just letting it grow out now. In spring I'll open up that same wound again, and I'm going to thread this branch through and let all this grow, like all this top part grow, just let it go wild. And then what I'll do when the time is right, obviously I will take that branch off there and let that continue, and that's going to be the new tree in my eyes. So then eventually I will cut all that straight part off, but while this is going wild at the top, it will thicken all of these roots down here. So I'm hoping it will close any gaps that are around the Ibigawa. Okay, this little tree here, as I'm sure all of you are aware, is a little ash. And when I first started bonsai, this, amongst a few others, were growing in my granddad's garden. And that's where it all started for me. In my granddad's garden, he gave me the bottom of his garden to do what I wanted with it. So I was basically growing out trees in the ground, and then it spread out to, I took up but pretty much half the garden, because you know how it is with bonsai. But yeah, this tree here, although it looks, I don't know, mediocre, if that, to me means the world. Hence why I spent a bit of money on the pot. You know, this tree will never go anywhere. It's always going to be with me. And yeah, they're a bit of a fighter. I was talking with Zav about it. They tend to want to push out real long straight growth with nothing in between, so getting them to ramify is quite difficult. But like I say, this tree will always be with me, no matter how it looks, because it means a lot to me. So a lot of you, I'm sure, are aware these are Japanese larches, all of these. I purchased all of them from Herons. So there's a new like unit that they've got, which they use for their online shop, and where that is used to be bargain benches. All of these trees came from a bargain bench. Okay, they weren't looking in the best sort of shape. So what I did initially is I had bought 5 trees. I bought these 2, and I think it was these 2 along with it. And what happened is I put them all into a group, and now I didn't really know a lot about what I was doing, to be honest with you, and they look very messy. You know, one was leaning over here, one was leaning over. In the end, when I sort of evolved a little bit with what I was doing, I took the group apart and I put these into their own pot, I bought another 2 trees and I put them into a group because the trunk lines all matched. And unfortunately what happened is I lost 2 trees out of that group. So now these guys have been put into a pot with just a group of 3. And I'm just working them back to, I don't know, something a little bit better. They look a bit of a mess at the minute, but I'm just letting them grow out a little bit really, to be honest with you, because I only repotted them at the beginning of the year. So I thought if I let them just spread out, then they'll put some nice roots down. This one here is probably one of my favourite larches, along with this guy here. I think as time goes on, it's going to be quite a nice tree, to be honest with you. I've got a few plans in the future for it. Again, it was only repotted at the beginning of the year, so I've just left it to grow out, and then it will put some nice roots down over winter for me. But as we go into autumn, I'll probably start to chop all this back, maybe get a bit of wire on them just to give it a little bit of shape, a little bit of a nice silhouette. Because as I'm sure you're aware, they're a deciduous variety, so all these needles will be lost and you'll be left with a winter silhouette. So that's part of what I like about larch. In fact, I love larch. They're a very elegant tree, very beautiful tree, and they've got a bit of everything. You know, they're a conifer, but they're also deciduous, so you get that winter silhouette like you do with your maples and stuff. Right, Zav, another one for you, mate. These are all Zelkova, okay? So these guys here and these guys I've grown from seed. So this was the first year and that was a second year's lot. Unfortunately, there was more of these, but like I said in a previous video, I had a little bit of a problem with vine weevil, and I lost quite a few of them, and one of them was going to be an amazing little shohin, but we won't go there. This one here is my air layer from a tree which I purchased again from Herons. I know there's a bit of a pattern here. So I didn't like the root base. I did a bit of work a good few years back with Peter Warren. That's how I initially met Peter, was because of this tree. And we did some work and I stuck with the program. Unfortunately, I had a few things happen where the tree then lost a few things, like the main branch got bitten off by a squirrel. Suffered from dieback quite a bit, and you know they really do benefit from like a partial defoliation. And then what you're doing is you're promoting back budding and you're letting light and air in. So basically, if you leave them to just grow and grow and grow, what happens is it shades the inside, and then everything on the inside just dies back. So you have to be constantly going in and defoliating them, otherwise you're losing growth on the inside. Now decided to air layer the top of the tree off, and I'm going to have a nice little shohin. We'll see how the roots get on by the next time I pull them out of the pot, and if I've got a nice enough spread, then I won't worry about having to do anything about it. But if the spread isn't that nice, I might have to look into a few options of trying to get a bit more of a radial pattern, just so it looks like a little bit of a better tree. This is my Chinese quince, Pseudocydonia sinensis, and I got this for my birthday, purchased from Herons. I've always wanted one, and they were at a reasonable price, so my wife kindly bought me it. It's quite a new variety to me, so I'm kind of learning as I go with it. I'm waiting now until autumn, so all the leaves are gone before I have a look at the structure, and I've kind of just let it grow to give it a bit of energy. I know they love lots of water, so I've been making sure I keep it watered regularly and fertilised quite heavy as well, because obviously it's a flowering variety, so if it's flowered you need to give the energy back to the tree. But yeah, I'm really excited about putting it into a new pot obviously, but that can wait. This is my Chinese corkbark elm from one of my first ever videos, also purchased from Herons. It's put on quite a bit of growth this year, very vigorous. I only gave this a haircut, I don't know, a couple of weeks back, so you can imagine what it's been like through the growing season. It's due for another little trim just before it really starts to slow down. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this tree as a variety to work with. I'll be looking for a new pot when I go to the Heathrow show, I would imagine, but you know, there's no promise of that. I might have to wait and see what just pops up wherever, but I'm hoping that at the show I'll be able to find something. I've got a pot which is perfect for it, but I just don't like the colour of it. And also I want to change it out of this soil. So same with the quince really. I don't really want it in this soil. It's straight from Japan, so it's not really sort of the best for our climate, if you like. But yeah, lovely little tree. I think it's going to be really lovely in the future. So these are both crabapple. This was the air layer that came off the top of this mother plant. This plant here is actually going to be going to Andy at Bonsai Crazy. I think it's going to potentially make a lovely little cascade plant. But I just need to make room on my benches really, so I don't need two of them. So yeah, this one's going to go to him. I'm going to keep that one. They are a lovely variety to work with. They flower obviously. In between having flowers, you do have to cut them back quite regularly, quite hard. So it's kind of a bit of a juggle where, you know, for 1 year you might have flowers all over and it'll be lovely, but eventually you have to cut back so hard that you don't have so many flowers and it has to build up again. But they are impressive once they do build up again. And yeah, they love a lot of fertiliser, a lot of water. Perfect for beginners, I think. So this is a little Chinese elm that I was gifted from Terry, and he grew it from a cut-in, and it was by pure fluke. He just kind of cut a bit off of a tree of his and stuck it in a pot and it rooted. So this year I decided, because it had such an ugly base on it, I decided to air layer it, and my plan is to try and get a nice little shohin out of it. It's an ongoing project really. Obviously nothing's guaranteed, but it's perfect just to try and practice a few little things on rather than spending loads of money. But I think potentially it's going to be quite a nice little tree. So these are something that's quite new to me. This is, from what I've been told, is a standard jade, and that's the Afra. I was given the cuttings by a friend because he's quite keen on these sorts of varieties of succulents, and I've always sort of wanted to have a go with one. So I just was given dried out cuttings, and I put them into a 50-50 Akadama pumice mix. And all I do is I just make sure that dries out completely before I water them again. But they seem to be doing well. Obviously they'll go back indoors over winter. I've got new leaves popping up everywhere. I would imagine that all these leaves would be gone soon. That had nothing on it, so they're doing all right. Just got to figure out what sort of pot I put them in, which I'll probably do soon. So this was a little £49 Dishojo maple that I purchased when I bought my Chinese cork bark elm at Herons. I didn't want to spend silly money on buying a Dishojo because I've never really had much good luck with them, and I was also already spending £150 on a cork bark elm. But yeah, I've mainly worked out what branches I want to keep to use for the main structure at the moment, and just trying to grow them out a little bit. It did get a little bit scorched, as you can see on some of the leaves, but I did partially defoliate also, and we've got some new growth and those leaves look nice and fresh. I think I should have quite a few cool little videos come out of this one. I need to figure out what I'm going to do with this because I don't like that root. It's really ugly. Not really what I'd call a nice Nabari there. But I've just got to work out a plan for that part. To start with, I'm just worried about the structure at the minute. But I think potentially could make a lovely little tree. So fingers crossed. I really don't see the garden staying like this the whole time. It will evolve over time. So if you stick with me and watch my videos, hopefully you can follow that journey with me. So I hope you like that little tour of my garden. I hope I explained everything as best as I could. If you did, could you just hit the like button for me? And if you haven't subscribed already, if you could subscribe, that would be awesome. Thanks to everyone that follows me already, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.